Stats Canada are releasing its annual Canadian income survey, and it shows that nearly 10% of Canadians are living in poverty. Roughly 8.7 million people are facing food insecurities as well. Joining me now is Richard Matern, Director of Research at Food Banks Canada. Richard, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Some staggering numbers, and they're up from last year. What is leading to this increase?
Well, the Stats Can report mentioned a couple of things. They mentioned the combination of a decline in government transfers, so reverting back to the status quo income support system to what we were compared to what we were getting during COVID, and then also inflation. So the combination of the two things happening at the same time likely led to what we're seeing right now.
And this is putting pressure on food banks. Are they able to keep up?
Well, it's a struggle at the moment, and we're continuing to see things get worse. So when these results were collected, they were collected last year, when it confirms what we saw last year, when we saw record-breaking food banking visits. So we saw nearly 2 million visits in the month of March alone, 2023. And indications are things are continuing to get worse, and the pressure is continuing to be on the food bank network on the ground, trying to meet the demand. So unfortunately, we're concerned about the sustainability of the situation.
And who is it that's feeling the impact of this the most?
Across the board. So what the survey results showed from Stats Can is that while there was 10% of the population under the official poverty line, we have nearly a quarter, 23%, experiencing food insecurity. So we have a range of people, including single unattached adults, families with children, particularly female-led lone parent households are experiencing very high levels of food insecurity. And then racialized groups of people with disabilities and others who have been struggling with low incomes for a while. So an increasing number of working poor is also being reflected in these results, and is what we're seeing in the food banks too.
And when we say the 10% living in poverty, does it feel like that number is low?
Compared to what we're seeing in terms of food insecurity rates, it does. It's a reflection of income measures alone, not perhaps giving the full picture of those experiencing poverty or struggling with the standard of living. And we're seeing that on the ground too. So people who might not have needed a food bank before, and whose incomes were enough to get by a couple of years ago, it's not enough now, and they're feeling the pressure.
Who do we need the biggest change from? What level of government or what policy would make the biggest difference?
Well, right now, as we all know, affordable housing is a key issue across the board, and that's something that was announced in the recent federal budget, some important affordable housing initiatives. But right now, what we're also focusing on from the feds is pushing for an updated GST credit, and known as a groceries and essentials benefit. And so this would be an income payment that would go to those experiencing the lowest income and struggling the most with food insecurity and poverty, and hopefully relieve some of the pressure on the ground in terms of the need for food banks so people can feed themselves.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much for your insight on this subject.
Thank you.